All right. Let's do this fucking thing.
Yeah, that's my sentence.
In the words of Bela Lugosi, in Edward, let's shoot this fucker.
We're looking at Seinfeld, The Reunion, written by Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld. You know, we've all been inundated the last 10 years about is there ever going to be a reunion show and all that, and we're sick of it. But it gave me an idea to do a reunion show on Curb. So that's pretty much the story. So I called them up and they were nice enough to say yes.
If it hadn't have been Larry, we wouldn't have done it. We know that Larry knows the characters very well. They came out of his mind and Jerry's mind, so this is the best way to get together. We're in good company. The family's together in doing this, so that's what makes it so profound for all of us to be together.
I don't think we could have imagined it would be a good idea in any other format. I mean, we all know the arguments against doing it, and he negated every one of those arguments rather brilliantly by making it about that, but it's not about that. It's not about the reunion. It's a complex web.
Yeah, because now you have like the Seinfeld show and Curb so twisted up together. It's so offbeat and surprising. It's the only thing that makes sense for us to do something like that. You know, we couldn't have just done a straightforward.
Yeah, we never would have done a normal reunion show. It never would have happened. This is the
It would
only
have looked
way.
like this, actually, if we had.
Yeah.
And you can see how this is going.
It was as if we had worked together 2 days ago.
It was 13 years in between writing sessions, and we just, I mean, not a minute, 60 seconds, we're okay, bing, 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 we're going.
It's been surprisingly easy. As if we were just on a 4-week hiatus and we came back.
There was I think there was like an emotional membrane of when walking onto the set and just seeing each other and seeing the set. And that was like kind of walking through one of those wall of water things.
And then
and
it's
but
like
once you're on the other side.
Right, it's like a muscle memory.
Right.
It's like, it's easy.
So yeah, it's odd. We keep talking about how it doesn't feel like any time has gone by. It's fun. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
The assumption that we go from playing the Seinfeld characters to ourselves, even that's wrong, because it's his idea of what we are.
He's playing
as
Jason, but
ourselves.
he's not even close to Jason.
He's got as many lines as me.
I've bastardized Jason Alexander. You couldn't recognize Jason Alexander
Right.
in the character that he's playing off stage.
Right. He's very brittle and explosive with temper.
And Julie and I never had a crossword since I've known her. And of course, in every scene we're doing, we're at each other's throats.
Right.
You know?
And I'm just obsessing about a ring on a coffee table.
No,
I would give a crap.
I've turned them into monsters, really.
Yes, and even making me do this interview in this outfit.
Yeah.
This is the same.
This is the same.
This
These
is
are
not
different.
changed. Right? I mean, it's not changed at all.
We were doing a scene yesterday. I don't know how much detail to go into on anything.
It doesn't matter. I have control over
Okay.
this.
So we were doing a
This
scene
isn't going to see the light of day.
where Jason quits the show, and you know we keep in these characters we keep crapping all over the finale episode and shoving the finale on them, and then saying these rather cruel things, and then I quit, and I actually went, this doesn't feel very good. I got a little. It was uncomfortable doing that with any kind of reality, especially because you have to make up the way you would do it. It would be a little easier if somebody said, "No, you have to say this." That would be okay. Well, that's not me. But when you have to go into your own imagination to live in Larry's Curb world, where everything is uncomfortable and everything is abrasive and everything is, that's.
Yeah, we all
I'm
felt
ready
a
for
little
dialogue.
uncomfortable in that one
I'm
because
ready
we'd
for
never
dialogue.
really had those kind of difficulties.
It's a little strange telling the guy that came up with George how to do George. So much of what I do was based on these just sort of notions that Larry had. So to turn around and go, "You're screwing it up," is very, very strange, very flattering, very strange. He actually, I thought, did a fine George.
No,
before I even came
it's
in.
not easy.
It's watching a
Doing that.
plant grow and then make a turn and then go into the ground and start eating its own roots. And then you just see this loop and you go, what is that?
It was slightly unpleasant to do that.
How could you be so I just loved it. I so loved it. I didn't think I would love it this much. I mean, it's just been like, I was saying there's very few things in life that you could recreate and walk back into them so perfectly. I mean, we have recreated a memory that doesn't exist and walked back into it. I mean, it's a pretty rare experience in any form of life to do that.
And
Like going back to your youth in a way.
the great joy that I always remembered of the 9 seasons was that we would always walk in there and start laughing with each other. There was just a lot of laughing, and I thought, well, you know, it's been 9, 10 years. Maybe that had to do with the fact that we were working every day, and we just kind of, you know. And then we walked back in there, and we've been laughing for the last 4 days.
Right.
There's either we just find ourselves endlessly amusing, or there's just something kind of wonderful about what happens when this little group goes in there. I don't know why it happens, but it's awfully fun.
Yeah, and they're great improvisers too. And the curb part, that's just been a blast. The whole thing's been a blast.
Yeah.
George takes out a napkin and brings it to his nose. No! As they reach for George, the shot freezes and we fade out.
You know, those reunion shows, they're so lame, really.
That new line, the kumquat and the quail, you're amazing.
You're really unbelievable, Larry.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
That's amazing.
Well, pulling it off there's 2 ways to pull it off. One is to actually be able to write the shows that address this premise in a satisfying way. And the other is to actually get the cast members to do it.
Why would we do something like this? I mean, why isn't it lame? A couple years ago, it was starting to rattle around in his head to do something like this. I was always game for it, just because we always had such a blast together doing everything.
Next thing I know, you're going to be You're going to be writing with me?
You need some ideas?
No, we're good.
Because, you know, to some degree, I think we all kind of went, this is not a good idea. Couldn't we even play these characters anymore? Is it going to look pathetic?
Larry called me and he said we would sort of do a reunion show within the show. So it's not really a reunion show.
What reunion show?
Didn't you tell him?
What?
And I thought Larry was going to call me to just ask me to be on his show. It was the way that they approached me. Listen, you're going to get a call from Larry David. Think Curb.
It's really been way different than I thought it was going to be. I mean, even the writers of Curb, they didn't realize that we were going to bring the Seinfeld show this fully realized into a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
The holy grail of the Seinfeld show was to never do what anyone would have expected us to do. This is really a surprising way of doing what is in essence a reunion show. And yet, it's not Seinfeld. It's Seinfeld without being Seinfeld.
It's the greatest possible way to do it because it's so bent. You know, it's not normal. It's just like Seinfeld.
Hey, George.
Oh boy.
To me, it's like this ultimate version of what you could do, but nobody else would ever have this opportunity because Larry has this show, so that that's the only reason we're able to do this.
Curb has a tone that is the perfect tone to do a reunion show. That is to say, you're not really doing a Seinfeld reunion show. You're doing an episode of Curb, and that's what this is.
To come on the set and watch these guys come through the door, watch Michael Richards open the door and, you know, do his thing, it's really, it is a bit magical.
Oh. You never want to be by the door. We had to tell you that.
I'm so sorry, buddy. All right.
It was very confusing. one side of the line I was on Curb, and the other side of the line I was on Seinfeld.
Just come on over. It's Curb, it's Seinfeld, we're playing Jason and Julia and Michael, but we're not. They're like sort of Larry's idea of them. And
Will you do that for me?
for you, anything.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Fuck me.
I'm here as myself, but even that is heightened reality. It's a character on Curb Your Enthusiasm called Michael Richards. It's not really who I am.
They're playing themselves the way I'm playing myself. Nobody's really playing themselves. They're called by their names. But no, Jason Alexander is nothing like Jason Alexander.
Salutations.
Hey, look at that, look at that.
Yeah, nice to see you.
You're really cutting the figure these days.
Well, thank you very much.
And he's a good sport to allow us to portray him like that, as was Julia and Michael.
Having said that, don't really think I'm buying your line of bullshit.
You get to sort of play yourself and make fun of yourself. It has a self-deprecating quality to it.
Check out that table.
Yeah,
See if that's...
check that out.
I think what's really different about this is that the levels of interaction. You're doing a scene, and you're thrown back into sitcom world of doing the scene within a sitcom. Hello, Jerry. And then Larry enters with the verisimilitude of the world of Curb that crosses paths with the world of Seinfeld, and that's never been really seen.
It's a show within a show. It blends back and forth, so it's amazing. And then I'm sitting in the same chair that I used to sit in during the readings, and then I don't know what show is on. Luckily, Jeff Garlin is sitting next to me. Jeff Green. I don't know if it's Jeff Garlin or Jeff Green. And then they say, we're rolling and cut. I said, is that a real cut? Which show are we on? Are we on Seinfeld? Are we still doing Seinfeld? Are we on Curb? So it's very crazy, but I like that.
So there's a few different realities here. It's kind of like that Star Trek 3-level chess board is happening here.
We're looking at Seinfeld, the reunion, written by Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld.
You know, we've seen each other over there, so it wasn't like we were strangers. But the characters had not been tried on in 10 years.
Well, I had my own acting to do. I couldn't really watch them because I was in the middle of a Curb episode while the Seinfeld reunion was being read.
We know Larry David on Curb. Larry's now the writer-producer of Seinfeld. He's in that mode. He wants the lines, he wants the scenes to work like they should when we're doing a Seinfeld episode.
Perfect. Just perfect.
I've always loved Seinfeld, but their skill level is greater than I ever even imagined. Unbelievable.
When we sat down for the table read, they're really doing a table read. And not only that, but they're like working on their lines, but they're not kidding around.
You know what it should be? What this line should be? He couldn't make it on the outside, is what the line should be.
Well, then I am talking about the guy.
They're not doing bits about how to make the scene better. They really are, like, they can't help themselves.
Madoff!
Actually, when we were doing the table read, that was really us because when we read some of those jokes, we were getting a kick out of them, so we were really laughing. But when I'm screaming at Larry, and I'm screaming at him that he's an asshole because he left a ring on my coffee table, that's the pretend real version of me on the Curb show. Does that make sense?
All right, scene F.
We're adding another chapter onto the series, which I would never have ever imagined could be possible. I mean, we're done with it, you know? We're just so done with it. And it's going to change now. It's going to actually have a new ending.
You know, we joke about it at the show, but I haven't met many people that were satisfied by our finale.
I think real fans of the show will go, that's what I really wanted the finale to be, like this.
Oh, yeah.
We just wanted to do the show and make it as funny as we thought it could be.
It's just been really strange and enormously fun.
We're having a good time. We really are.
We really had a great time doing it.
Say goodnight. You will likely never see this again. Those walls are coming down, boys. Nice to see you, though.
Welcome home. Wow.
That's cool.
This is really cool.
We're at the Warner Brothers archives. We're extracting the original Seinfeld sets. They're going to be restored on stage at CBS Radford for episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
They've been in cold storage for about 10 years at the Warner Brothers Museum. They're loaning them to us to set them up, and we're going to try to repair them and make it look like the sets never left.
I mean, it's an amazing thing. It's 11 years off the air. I mean, I'm surprised there's anything left.
Essentially, we've got 2 weeks to put the sets up, light them, dress them, everything. So it's about as tight as you could do it in.
It looks exactly the same to me.
Really?
It's like going back in time or never leaving the past or something, right?
Yes.
We are extracting 2 sets from Seinfeld.
We only had 2 basic sets, and it was the apartment and the diner.
You know, we were a little shocked when we first looked through this warehouse. There is quite a bit of damage that needs to be repaired, but being that this is original, maybe it'll be that much more authentic, you know?
I've been working with the original production designer from Seinfeld, Tom Azzari.
Well, he just wanted to know if we had anything left over, and I think he's the one that found that they archived the sets, which was great help.
So he dug into his archives, gave us really great photos of all the sets from back then, blueprints.
I gave him a whole bunch of photographs and some ground plans, so at least he had somewhere to start. So they didn't really know until they went to the warehouse to find the sets.
Well, this appears to be one of the counter pieces for the diner, for Monk's Diner. And as you can see, it's seen some days on stage and in warehouses, so it will be repaired. These are some of the original booths, booth backings, and some tables. There's the original Monk's Cafe door, which still has the logo on it. Jerry's original kitchen counter. Looks like we're missing our cover to our stove, set dressing. They have a little research and work to do. Monk's original storefront window. We still have the original window coverings in it. This is the refrigerator, the original refrigerator, which, as you can see, not many people know has actually been cut somewhat into the corridor outside of the apartment set. You can actually see an aging line where the wall actually set right here. The original radiators from the apartment, along with the bathtub back here, including Jerry's original sink and pedestal. Here's another piece for our diner, which is a header that goes above the counter. It's got the original signage on it, original wallpaper, all items that are very carefully and professionally having to be restored. Well, as you can see, it's a big puzzle. There's a lot of wallpaper repair. There's gonna be a lot of work making them look pretty, but that's what we do. We are on stage 19, CBS Studio Center, Studio City, California. And this is gonna be the home of these sets that we are putting up.
Stage 19, the one we're on, is the original soundstage where Seinfeld started. This was the original stage they loaded in, so this is a very historic soundstage.
We were here the first 3 years, and then we had so many sets that the stage wasn't big enough, and we had to move to the biggest stage on the lot.
I mean, we shot sets, struck sets. I mean, you couldn't move in here. There were so many sets. We did 1,380 swing sets in 9 years.
This is the original set, Jerry's apartment, that they built in 1988. So the set's in bad shape. When we started looking at the blueprints, we saw sinks and things for Jerry's apartment you can't find anymore. They don't exist. So we've had to go out and try to match moldings that aren't around anymore, that were probably around and made 20 years ago that we haven't been able to match exactly.
You could see elements missing, such as cabinets in the kitchen, which were not found in the archives. We are having to match a couple of those.
Just trying to match paint colors that have got 20 years of age on them.
We re-laminated the whole surface of Jerry's kitchen cabinet, and in order to match it properly, we had to do aging processes. So it looks like it has been on there for years.
Fortunately, the museum saved maybe 80% of the original set. The other stuff, we're just gonna make it look like it's Jerry's apartment in 2008, 2009.
In Jerry's apartment, Larry wanted it to be a whole different look. It's, a decade later, and Jerry's, redone his apartment.
Larry David had very, very specific ideas about what the furniture should look like. He didn't want Jerry's apartment to have been frozen in time. He said the architecture can be the same, but the furniture should all be different.
When I showed Larry my layout of photographs of what I'm proposing, the couch was a little bit of an issue. He goes, you know, I really don't want it to have the same arms. He wanted it to be a different color and a different shape. So it's really obvious, like when you look on the set, that Jerry's redone his apartment.
Things are a little more contemporary, but I think when you look at it as a whole, it'll still feel like Jerry's apartment.
We are scheduled tomorrow morning to have these sets fully dressed so we could do a walkthrough to make sure everybody's happy and on the same page.
I imagine it will be, for him and the actors, I'm sure it'll be like an emotional, you know, adventure to see their sets, you know, 11 years later.
Wow.
Isn't this cool?
This is really cool.
So what do you think? Season 10?
Huh? Yeah, the couch looks good. Tables look good. Great. Just great.
No one who's been working on this for the last 2 weeks has worked on Seinfeld, so none of us knew the reaction they would have.
Right? These weren't.
Yeah, these come out.
Wow.
These are wild.
And then those
I
you guys
remember
shot.
this being much bigger than this. Are you sure? This seems way off. I thought the coffee shop had a somewhat different configuration. The door, I don't remember the door being over there. I remember it being wider. This was way out here. Wasn't the cashier up here? The cashier was here, no?
No, everyone walked in between.
The diner is exactly the way it always was. The guys who were on set for 9 years couldn't even remember what it looked like. It was pretty funny.
I thought Jerry had some stuff though.
That's a new door.
He does. Huh?
That's a new
Jerry
door.
has a couple things.
That whole front wall is new because that's in.
A lot of people have a couple of things.
We found out when Seinfeld ended 10 years ago, Jerry took the front door wall, so we've had to replicate that.
What's interesting is that this door, you look at the door and you go, the door looks very much like the original door, except there were so many kick marks on the bottom of the door from Michael's feet kicking the door open. So the difference is that backstage there were all these scuffs. This looks very, very clean.
I don't remember this being this gross.
The refrigerator?
Yeah. He's living like a 90-year-old woman.
Well, you got a good
Yeah.
apartment with cheap
Yeah.
rent and you don't move.
I think we probably should do something about that. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff should be fixed up a bit, I think, because I don't think he would want that.
No one remembered how grungy the set looked until they saw it again, and oh, really? It was this grungy.
So there's other little things you can do too. I mean, like stereo thing, make it something with an iPod deck, talk or something. You know what I mean? Like, just he lives in this
New
century.
Mac computer, flat screen
computer.
TV.
Yeah, right.
Stainless steel fridge.
But when we can, we should try and modernize it somewhat.
People
Yeah.
aren't going to notice what's the same. They're going to
Yeah,
notice what's different.
Exactly.
So what do you mean spruce up the cabinet? You mean change them?
Well, the cabinets.
Paint the cabinets a
Just
different
paint
color
them.
because we made them
It's
anyway.
a little brighter.
Paint them, okay, great.
And if it's a new, we're talking about a new cooktop and a new fridge. The fridge alone,
Yeah.
that I think will do
Yeah,
a lot.
fridge.
The fridge alone is going to.
It was interesting to have them walk through, and Larry really wants the apartment to be a little more modern than we had it. So now, the next few days we'll be scrambling to make it look a little more contemporary by the time we get here and shoot next week.
Really something.
Oh my God. Wow.
Come on, hot set,
Hey,
hot
dude,
set.
how you doing?
How are you, man? Good to see you. How are you? What do you think?
At the moment?
It's a little
shaky.
disorienting,
Yeah,
right?
a little wobbly.
Something is strangely amiss.
Oh yeah, look, you got granite countertops.
Things have changed.
What, the upgrade?
He's made a teeny bit of money.
It's been 10 years, man.
That's true. It's a different fridge.
Yeah, it's a different fridge.
Different countertop.
Seriously, look. And look at the refrigerator.
Same cereal.
In the exact same cereal.
Being a part of this process is very exciting for myself, and I'm sure most of all of our crew here. Obviously, this was and has been and will continue to be a popular cast and show. Here we are bringing it back to life, so I think there's a bit of how do I put it, excitement in everybody that's playing a part of this.
It feels great. It feels really great to, you know, have been involved in an incarnation of sorts of, you know, a TV show that has so much history.
It's cool. I think from the guy sweeping the floors to the carps from the lot, the grips, everybody's jaded. Everybody comes in, they do this all day long. They hang walls, they pipe, paint floors. There's an excitement level to this set that you don't normally see. I mean, you're walking on you're stepping into history. I don't think anyone really thought Jerry's apartment would go back up ever again.
Total flashback. Yeah, it was really interesting, really cool.
Oh, hey, George. Did you see this? It's an article about Bernie Madoff.
Kramer.
So what? You lost a couple of million.
It was more than a couple. Why'd you have to give it all to that crook Madoff?
I don't know.
How could you be so fiscally irresponsible?
All of it, Jerry. All of it.
Madoff?
When I first started doing the role, I didn't know it was Larry. No one ever said he's writing his alter ego.
That's one of the truths of Seinfeld, is that George was kind of based on the Larry character.
You got no George, you got no show. It's like it's a three-legged goat.
I'll play George. I'll play George.
Seriously, Larry,
I'm
what
George
are we
anyway.
going to do?
I'm George. I'm more George than he is. I wrote it.
No, this is all Larry David's idea. He thinks this is hilarious.
How is his impersonation of George? It's not good. It's not good.
You had to interfere, didn't you?
George?
You had to interfere.
George, what are you talking about?
All right, I don't really do a good impression of George.
Oh! George is getting upset!
So some of the guys had to say, no, you got to go like this, and they were, coaching me.
It's the ho-ho is the key.
Oh!
Yeah. You got to, it's a full Gleason.
I
can't believe you listen.
I thought we were friends.
I thought we were friends. I thought we had each other's backs.
I can't believe you listened. I thought we were friends. I thought we had each other's backs.
That's good.
You know, if he takes me through these one by one, it'll be better. I want to know if you're happy.
I'm reasonably happy.
You had to interfere, didn't you?
Take the. I don't know if you're happy. You know, it's sitting on it, and then it's the explosion.
Yeah. You had to do it, didn't you? So I just
It's a little strange telling the guy that came up with George how to do George.
Okay, now do that speech for me.
What's his speech?
Kramer and I were all set to do this fake mugging, but you had to put all these ideas in his head that he was doing something wrong.
And it's Jerry that put the ideas in?
Both of them.
Kramer and I were all set to do the fake mugging, and you had to put all those ideas into his head. He actually, I thought, did a fine George.
No,
before
it's not easy. It's slightly unpleasant to do that.